Fruits Basket's characters as a whole are pretty amazing, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that harbors this sentiment. Today though, the focus is on the unsung characters, the characters that sit at the back of the cabinet like that oatmeal you keep avoiding to eat, never seeing the light of day, never feeling the warmth of the fandom. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you my most underrated Fruits Basket characters. As with every video, I do want to make a clarification. In a sense of underrated the way I'm using it, this doesn't mean the characters I list aren't beloved. It just means that I rarely see them getting love in my circles. But with that being said, folks, let's get started. Although we don't know much about Akimoto personally, her role in the story as it pertains to Utani isn't taught enough about. Despite being a gang member, Akimoto was very kind-hearted. She was an elder member of Utani's former gang who believed that if Utani wanted to go the straight and narrow route, she has the right to. Thus, before Utani got jumped by her gang, Akimoto called upon Kyoko, which is more telling than you might initially think. That action in of itself was brave on Akimoto's part, since she was risking her standing with her gang and she was asking from her vantage point the dangerous Crimson Butterfly for help. As well, Akimoto going to Kyoko instead of anyone else was downright brilliant. Right now, I want you to imagine what would have happened if Akimoto called the cops.
I started thinking to myself, man.
Utani, who was still gang affiliated, could have also been arrested along with everyone else, or even worse, Utani could have been branded a snitch, which might lead to fatal consequences. Akimoto's choice was smart because, for one, as we saw for ourselves, Kyoko could single-handedly get the job done. 2, the move helped Utani in the aftermath of her departure from the gang. Think about it, had Kyoko not saved Utani, but she somehow escaped the ass whooping, what would stop the gang from targeting her further? Well, nothing. Having Kyoko protect Utani helped in both the short term and long term because now everyone knows Utani has the blessings of the Crimson Butterfly. She now cannot be touched unless you want to feel the wrath of Kyoko. Akimoto made the call that saved Utani for good in the heat of the moment, which is mighty impressive. She truly is a great senpai. I've been a fan of the ultimate group of fans since their introduction, specifically because of Motoko. As president of the Prince Yuki fan club, you had to respect what Motoko has done. You don't get to make any club you want just because you have the members. Your club needs to have a purpose, one the school supports, and somehow, some way, Motoko got the approval for a fanatic club that obsesses over a then first year boy. Just imagine if a shit ton of boys got together and tried to form a club based on their disgusting obsession with Utani. That's sick. It's a proposition a school would never agree to unless you have god levels of negotiation skills, which it appears Motoko has. As well, Motoko's leadership and overall presence is strong. I see her as the face of the Prince Yuki fan club, no question. Toru has 2 classmates, Minami and Mai, that are a part of the club, but it isn't until Motoko is with them that I start to think, oh shit, it's the Prince Yuki fan club. As far as I'm concerned, Motoko is the soul of the club that spearheads their hilarious antics. Another reason I like Motoko is because of her representation of typical high school romance. Yeah, Motoko is all the way right on the spectrum, but unlike other characters in the series, her love is sorta shallow. Motoko doesn't have a deep reason to love Yuki. He didn't save her life or anything like that. I think it's better to say that Motoko is infatuated. She fell for Yuki's looks and the idea that he's a prince, which is fine. Again, while Motoko is extreme, I think the foundation of her love is realistic and explored well through her character. Wise beyond his years doesn't quite do Megumi justice. This kid's wit is on another level. From the way Megumi comes across, you think that you're talking to someone who has lived many decades over. With a great example being his lecture directed towards the Prince Yuki fan club, in which he warned them of their forced love potentially backfiring. Megumi has also proved himself as loving as a brother can be through his interactions with Hana. He wore black like Hana, he talked to her frequently, and even prayed that she would find a friend to save her, as he knew there had to be someone out there for Hana. The comedic side to Megumi's character is good as well. While he is damn near a clone of Hana in his monotone style of comedy, I still find him funny, probably because we rarely see him. Megumi does have a gimmick I always crack up hearing, and that's when he says, "My heart pounds as I'm surrounded by older women." Not something you'd expect from him considering how serious he seems. Old soul, but has progressive values that we appreciate him for. Grandpa Honda was probably the only person on the side of his family that accepted Kyoko for who she was, which in hindsight was the absolute right thing to do. Simply put, Grandpa Honda was a sweet old man. He would travel the distance to honor Kyoko's grave when no one else bothered to, which is super considerate. I mean, the guy is a fossil. Bad hips, bad back, no family to escort him, yet and still, he will visit Kyoko's grave. Plus, the way Grandpa Honda treats Toru is commendable. In the episode where Toru leaves the Somas and comes back home, it was Grandpa Honda who gave Toru the push she needed to make a decision that she genuinely wanted. You can tell from this that Grandpa Honda just wants Toru to be happy, and if staying with the Somas gives her happiness, then he has no qualms letting her free. Lastly, I have to mention the red herring of Grandpa Honda going senile was excellent. When you constantly hear Grandpa Honda call Toru Kyoko, your first thought is, damn, his old age has really gotten to him, but in actuality, this was a calculated move on his part to tie Kyoko to Toru, who was falling apart after her death. Top tier grandpa. Believe me when I say this kid was on my shit list for a very long time. I hated Hiro's introduction, but even in my initial impression of him, I respected what he provided to Fruits Basket. Take Hiro and Toru's first encounter. Hiro didn't buy into the hype of Toru at all, which gave him a unique perspective on her kind nature, one where it wasn't appreciated. Essentially, Hiro exposed a flaw in Toru's character, which is the fact that she is nice to a fault. We also saw in season 2, Hiro's blunt attitude allowed him to ask the hard question of why Toru never talks about her father. And that's why Hiro at times is a necessary evil. Most characters treat Toru with care and tact, but Hiro serves the purpose of challenging the status quo. He makes things uncomfortable, but certain situations demand that. And I think it's good that we can attribute a lot of Hiro's behavior to his youth. Sure, he was a brat, but he was also like 12. It's one of those scenarios where you don't have to like it, but you understand it. And it's not like Hiro stayed stagnant as a character. He definitely had matured over time into a respectable young man. I also dig the internal conflict that he was going through. Him feeling guilty over Kisa being hurt by Akito added on to why he was so angry at the world. And eventually that, along with the birth of his sister Hinata, made him want to be stronger to protect the people he loves. Hiro had a rocky start, but he finished well for sure. Well, people, we are at the end of my list. I want to know characters that you feel are underrated, that don't get the love that you think they deserve. Tell me that in the comment section. Now, if you're watching this the day I posted this video, then tomorrow will be another Fruits Basket video. This is a Fruits Basket week, but tomorrow will be my top 10 moments of season 1 in Fruits Basket. So stay tuned for that. That is it for me though, people. Satsuki the Savage. Like, comment, subscribe. I am out.
Tasting your soul, you're not in control, just giving you goals. Scared of your past, the future is close. The start is the end is a start. They both are the same, can't tell them apart. Nigga, that's cuz the intro is the outro.